right, here we are, National Sales Meeting, NSM 2024 in the beautiful Sonoma County Hills, Northern California. I've got Erin with Ross with me here today. We're gonna talk about Ross. If you don't know Ross, they're big, they do everything. That's kind of what we want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Erin, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. And we're doing our 50-year anniversary this year, so
Seriously?
we're super excited about it since 1974.
What was the first product 50 years ago?
A switcher that
Whoa, what a
stayed
figure.
in use with CBC for a really long time. It was decommissioned just a few years ago, actually.
Seriously?
So.
And it was like, I'm assuming it wasn't even SD, were we talking like sub?
Analog video.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Absolutely.
I couldn't imagine what the quality came out of that thing. I mean, compared to now, you compare
yeah.
like video from 50 years ago to now, it's just, there's a
very
few
different.
more pixels.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, so that's an interesting story, right? 50 years of history of product. What does Ross make?
Everything that you can think of in terms of the production environment, from everything from behind the camera all the way through to storage, to graphics, to just the driving the displays on set, are all things that the solution from Ross touches.
I mean, you guys are effectively, and I don't want to say like a TV station in a box, but in the Ross box, you are everything a TV station needs to light up and start broadcasting.
Exactly.
Beautiful. But one of the things we've been talking about kind of throughout the day here in a pre-show is that, you know, there's this whole other market of people that aren't TV stations, but they're broadcasters, and how you all can support them.
Right.
Right, and how they can engage in the Ross conversation and use this amazing gear you guys have.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of customers in corporate environments that have realized that the level of communication that they're providing, especially through the pandemic over the past couple of years, needed to be elevated. And they're pulling in technology from the broadcast world. It's not where we want to label it broadcast in terms of the technology that we're providing to them, but we want to label it elevated production in the ways that we're providing them tools and the ability to be more creative in the way that they deliver the messages to both their employees and to their customers as well.
So these could be like huge auditoriums where they're holding giant meetings, down
Absolutely.
to smaller conference rooms maybe where they're just doing Teams engagement or the Teams MTRs.
Or anything in between.
Yeah.
We've got several high-level customers that use our gear to produce their Teams meetings and take them to the next level. Yeah. And we've got several customers that use our gear in live events to broadcast their national sales meetings, for instance, like we're doing this week. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, but we're talking about that end-to-end solution. You guys have cameras, from like high-end broadcast cameras down to PTZ cameras that are,
right.
More that type of production. You've got switchers that are the size of, this table down to much, much smaller, more refined. You really have a wide breadth of technology. Do you think people miss it sometimes, that they only see you as this company that's handling TV stations and they miss the idea that you can be in these smaller environments?
I think historically they have. I think that historically they view Ross as a broadcast company, right? Yeah. That they see our gear in big stadiums, in the NFL and NBA and Major League Baseball, and they assume that simply because they see our gear there that they can't achieve that same level of production and can't really afford it. And that's not the case at all. We try to service every market, and we try to make our gear cost effective. And also have high return on investment and make it something that they can actually enjoy using over the long term.
So I think that's probably a really salient point there. It's like you can't afford it. It's not out of reach for this corporation.
Absolutely.
And it's not out of need either, right? Because I think you guys can solve the problems that they probably don't even realize they have in terms of how they're producing their content, how they're presenting it to their audience. And you guys are, the great box for that.
Absolutely.
So what other areas, we talk about like that end-to-end solution, what other areas do you see that sort of that corporate communication market that you have tools for?
So for a long time, we've had a product we call Voyager. And not to get too specific into products, but Voyager basically is our reskinning of the Unreal Engine. And we've used it for a very long time in augmented reality and virtual sets, but it has a great use in the XR world. So where you've got C-level C-level executives that are wanting to go in and tell their message in a more meaningful way and be able to see what they're doing as opposed to be looking at a green screen and looking at displays and trying to interact with a virtual environment, and do that kind of Star Wars-esque production, Lucasfilm's production. And granted, they're using a different system, but it's the ability to be able to visualize what you're doing and being able to generate that message just a little bit easier and be able to change the sets on a fly. So you can create a striking visual environment and then be able to change that environment to meet the next customer's needs, to meet the next internal customer's needs.
And I think that's really important because you talk about something like The Mandalorian and the production. They've got like 40 engineers and dozens of software companies kind of coming together to produce this solution for film. And I think a lot of these corporate environments don't have that capability. They don't have that big of a staff. They don't have those big of budgets, right? And then sometimes it might be something as simple as a green screen, right? But they still need that Unreal Engine package and to pull everything together. And you guys sort of have that bundled into a box effectively.
Well, right? and it's not just something that we do on a box level. We actually have a full creative services division called Rocket Surgery that's able to create those environments and basically be an extension of their creative services or their internal graphics team.
Which is important because I think most of these environments don't have a gamer on staff, and that's almost what it takes. Is somebody who's a gamer who knows Unreal, who can come in and kind of put the Unreal package together and design your set and then implement it into the platform. So it's an interesting story because we see this more and more in the corporate communications world, in the pro AV world, and the infocom space, where these corporations are saying, I need a more nimble studio environment that can have one set today, a different one an hour later, right, as we're communicating to different audiences. And this virtual production gives them that flexibility. They don't have to have a hard set anymore. They don't need to knock on wood when they can use the virtual side. And so I think that's really important to give them that flexibility, but from a company that also ties it into the cameras and into the switcher and all the other platform, which we were talking about this, you guys are really the only one that can sort of deliver an end-to-end solution, even for virtual production,
right?
Because you offer everything, even down to robotics.
Right, and we've been using our Furio products for a long time, both in the live event space and even in concert touring. But it's a great studio tool. It provides very easy, fluid movement. And gives the ability to track that movement easily, so we can feed that data directly into the set, and everything looks and feels like it's supposed to. It feels like it's real.
So one of the things I've admired culturally about Ross over the years is like when you guys see an opening or a hole in the game, you build the product to solve that, right? And I think it's why you have such this massive portfolio. What drives that? Why not just say like, oh, those guys can do that, let's just let them do that? What drives you guys to want to build everything?
Well, I think that we're always trying to do the best thing for our customers, right? And sometimes the best thing for our customers is being able to give them the solutions that they need. And sometimes the stuff that's out there may not be meeting their needs the way that they need it to meet. So we try to identify those areas and try to meet those needs whenever we can.
It's not a bad objective at all. Tough. I mean,
yeah,
you end up with a really big portfolio, which you have, but it gives a lot of scope and scale on that side. What's next for us?
NAB is coming up before we know it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's almost here.
And we'll be debuting some new gear there, so we're looking forward to it.
And then you'll be at InfoComm as well this year?
Absolutely.
All right, so all the shows, everywhere everybody needs to be.
We'll be there.
Love it. Well, Erin, thank you for being here. Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
This has been another episode of National Sales Meeting 2024, our view of the world. You're going to see us all at NAB shortly. Of course, you'll get to meet with Erin there. You'll also see him hopefully at our event, which is at the we moved it this year.
We are at the Link this year.
Yeah,
right?
We're at the Link this year for our show. So if you're watching this, make sure you sign up on the website right now to get access to our pre-NAB event for NAB 2024. Erin, thanks again for being here. We'll see you all in the next episode.